You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sara J. Loureiro.
All right, beauties, welcome back. This episode is all about the 6 lessons I learned from making over 6 figures in sales in just the first year of my business. I literally cannot believe it. I sometimes feel like I kind of have to pinch myself with how amazing my business is going, how much I've been able to create a freedom-based lifestyle, and just how much I am creating a huge impact in so many people's lives. I am so freaking excited about how this year has went, but there also have been a lot of bumps in the road. This has definitely not been an easy, effortless, straightforward path at all. And so if any of you feel really inspired to reach new income goals for your business, or just to really expand in ways that you did not think possible, this episode is for you. I can't believe that it has already been a year. And so I started Sara J. Loureiro Business Coaching on May the 9th of 2018. And I started this business because I was already doing really well in my first online business. And I was absolutely loving everything that I was doing. But at the same time, I had this big urge to use so much more of my strengths. And I had a lot of people coming up to me and asking me how I managed to grow that business so quickly, how I managed to sign on so many consistent clients in that business, how I managed to create so many products that were selling like hotcakes. And that's when I realized that I had this huge love and this huge passion for business and business coaching. And I stepped into it. Initially, though, I thought I needed to step into business coaching as a mindset coach. And the reason I thought I had to, or quote unquote had to do this, is because I had a background in yoga. I had a background in spirituality and meditation, in all things to do with wellness and understanding your mind. So of course, why wouldn't I transition to be a mindset coach? Here's why that actually didn't work. I ended up taking on a few scholarship clients before I actually transitioned. And I ended up giving away like a few free calls just to kind of do market research and to get used to this whole business coaching thing, see if I was actually really good at it, see if I was actually really good at mindset coaching. And what I quickly realized is that my zone of genius is not in mindset coaching at all. I love mindset coaching and I still do it with my clients, and I still think that it's something that is so incredible and just really valuable within business coaching. But I quickly learned that business strategy was really one of my biggest strengths. I quickly learned that not everyone who is doing business coaching really fully understands business strategy in the same way that I do. And that's something that I have been able to give to my clients, along with all of the amazing mindset work that we do. And this is also ultimately why I always tell my clients and I always tell my community to listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. It's not necessarily about going into a specific field because you have the credentials or you have the background in it. It's about going into things and really leaning on your strengths. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second, because that's another way that I was really able to pivot this business and hit 6 figures in such a short period of time. I also want to mention here that I started in online business in 2015. So it's been quite a while. It's been around 4 years now since I started. And I have invested big time. So I've invested in a whole bunch of different services that also really primed me and prepped me for the year that I just had. So it wasn't just like an overnight success that I had, and it really came from just the knowledge that I gained from working with so many people over the years. So I'll give you a bit of an idea just to kind of give you a bit of perspective here. So since 2015, I have worked with a branding strategist, a sales funnelist, an ad strategist, business coaches, money mindset coaches. I've taken Instagram courses, I've taken copy and content courses, and I've also learned Facebook ads from countless people. So those don't include the investments that I actually made this specific year in business, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a background that I was already investing in all of these things beforehand. And so that way, when I first started this business, I kind of already hit the ground running. I already knew what I was doing. I had already gained all of the knowledge. I had already invested in coaches. And so it was a lot easier for me to grow relatively quickly. And truthfully, this is true for anyone. So you can totally make six figures in your first year of business, even if you don't have 3 years behind you within the online industry or 4 years behind you within the online industry. It is totally possible for you. It just depends on where your mindset is and how much you're willing to invest, and really how much you're willing to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. I also want to note here that it's really interesting to me that when I first started this business, I actually didn't want to hit six figures. I didn't desire it. I didn't set that out as a goal when I first started. And that's fine. Not everyone needs to desire that. Not everyone needs to desire to hit a certain income goal in their business or impact goal in their business, to each their own. When I first started this business, I wanted to play around with it. I wanted to see how much more fulfilling it was. I wanted to see how much I could really help people with it. But 2 or 3 months in, I quickly realized that I had really hit exactly what I was meant to be doing. And I really hit this place where I was no longer second guessing myself. I could really create the impact that I desired. And so that was a beautiful thing. And from there, I did feel super inspired to start actually creating these goals. And so from hitting six figures in my first year of business and just really having a really successful, really impactful, and really fulfilling first year of business, I wanted to share with you 6 big lessons. So kind of the highs and the lows of everything that happened this year. And I'm going to be honest with you too. This could have been a lot easier for me. I could have set out to make a six-figure business within a year, and I could have made it a lot easier on myself than I actually did. It literally could have been as easy as signing on 2 clients at $4,000 for a 4-month package every single month for 12 months. It literally could have been that easy, and offer them a whole bunch of side services, secondary services, all that kind of stuff. I actually took the hard way, and I'm going to tell you why it was so important for me to take the hard way in a second. But so my first big lesson is that 10K months and just really reaching higher income months are a big, massive, giant mindset ballgame. And so I really needed to battle my inner demons. Of course, my money mindset coach really helped me with this, but I didn't actually think that I was going to have so much resistance to making money or to making larger amounts of money in my business. I thought that I can kind of just have this goal and work towards this goal and be able to reach it, and everything was no problem. But in fact, I met myself with a ton of resistance, even for making $10,000 months, because there was a big part of me that felt like I was unworthy, that felt like I didn't really deserve this, that felt like, who am I to want this? Who am I to even be able to have this? Why me? And so that was one of the most difficult things to navigate, was just really battling my inner demons when it came to even accepting more clients, even accepting more revenue, everything surrounding that higher income number. I met myself with a ton of resistance. And so I really needed to make sure that I did a ton of mindset work around that, so that I wasn't self-sabotaging my business around every single corner. So my second really big lesson that I learned this year was there are literally so many different ways to run your business. There are so many different ways to reach new income goals. There are so many different ways to structure all of your programs. And like I just said previously, I decided to take a harder route. And the reason why I took a harder route was because for me, it wasn't about getting to some sort of goal really, really fast. It wasn't about hitting six figures in 6 months or 8 months or anything like that. I wasn't attracted to a finish line that would, look really, really good on paper. What I really wanted to do, and one of the biggest things that I really wanted to establish this year, was to have multi-layer programs within my business. And so I just said this. I could have just taken on one-on-one clients the entire year, created a specific price point, and boom, made six figures, maybe even in less time than what it took me. But the reason why I decided to not go that route was because I actually wanted to create a really amazing, solid foundation this year where I wasn't relying on only one source of income. And I quickly realized, as I got fully booked out in this business within 4 months, that I needed to start scaling. I needed to create another source of revenue, and at the same time, I wanted to create this other source of revenue. I wanted to be able to try out new programs. I wanted to be able to launch new things. I didn't want to just be kept into one specific area of business. And so that's why I ultimately went to create my very first group program in my very first mastermind. And the results of those 2 programs have been incredible. I mean, I've absolutely loved doing them. And one thing that I've realized from them is that I have a huge, huge passion for group coaching, for group programs, for being able to bring so many different women together and really work on their strategies, really work on their mindsets to be able to create exponential results in their businesses. And that's actually something that has begun to happen as a result of these programs. And I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be more grateful for everything that has happened as a result of me really putting myself out there. Because launching new programs within your first year of business, even within 4 months of having new business, is not easy. This is not an easy task. There were a lot of different launch formats that we needed to experience and experiment, me and my team. And there were ultimately a lot of highs and lows going on with that, but it was so, so worth it. And so I like to call this fast or future. And from the very beginning, when I very first started in the online business world, I was so captivated by the quote, "You can go fast or you can go long, but you cannot go fast for long." And I love that, because oftentimes we think entrepreneurship is this just gigantic sprint, as if we need to get somewhere in a really, really short period of time. We need to do all of these things at lightning speed. We need to create the ROI on our investments immediately after we invest. And the truth is that entrepreneurship is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And so if we treat it as a sprint, we are always going to be burnt out and overwhelmed. And so that's ultimately why I chose to experiment with all of the different programs that I was so passionate about and launch those programs in exchange for perhaps having, less of an income or less of a get rich quick type business model, but more of creating a foundation for amazing things to come. Now, the third thing that I learned is the need to step up as a leader. And so I quickly realized that as I was booking more clients, as I was working with more amazing dream clients, my bucket began to fill very, very quickly. When I launched my first group program, it filled exponentially. And then before I knew it, I had 6 to 8 people who were messaging me on Voxer, which is the communication platform that I give to my one-on-one clients. I had a whole bunch of people in my free Facebook group. I had a whole bunch of people in my paid group program group messaging me constantly, asking me for advice. And I realized at that point in time that they were my priority. They were paying for my services. And I needed to be there for them. But at the same time, I also needed to have my own life. I needed to have my own boundaries, and I really, really needed to take care of myself. And so at that specific point in time, I realized the importance of team and the importance of not only having team, because I hired a VA, I think it was 1 or 2 months into this business. So I hired her relatively quickly. She was amazing. I loved the work that she did for me. But I quickly realized after I had launched my group program for the first time that there's only one of me. And in order for this to become sustainable, in order for my business model to become sustainable, I really needed to start utilizing my team more so that they could help me create decisions, so they can help me create, so they can help me decide, so that it wasn't just me managing everyone else and kind of just holding the ship afloat, so to speak. Now, the fourth thing that I learned from making 6 figures in my first year in business is that investing is a continuous battle. And so I end up investing in an amazing business coach for a 6-month package this year. I also invested in an ad strategist this year. I also invested in multiple virtual assistant services this year. I also invested in lots of Facebook ads this year. And I can definitely tell you that some of those investments were more worthwhile than others. I remember the very first month that I was actually really, really wanting to hit a $10,000 month. At that point in time, I had created momentum. I was creating an amazing impact. My clients were doing great. And I thought to myself, okay, this is it. I can really create a freedom-based business that is going to impact a shit ton of people. And so at that specific moment, I had to look at exactly what was happening in my business and exactly where I wanted my business to go. And I quickly realized that some of my best clients were coming in through Facebook ads. And so I literally doubled the amount that I was spending and then tripled the amount that I was spending, because I knew that if my best clients were coming from that specific avenue, which is why it's so, so important to look at your data in your business, by the way. But if my best clients were consistently coming from that one avenue, I needed to really, really hone in my skills there. And the very first month that I doubled and then tripled my ad spend was my very first $10,000 month. And so sometimes things can grow really, really quickly if you allow them to. But of course, not all investments are going to be amazing, wise investments that are always going to give you a return. And I quickly realized that with a lot of money that I ended up spending on just really silly ad spend. Really silly things that I was told to do that didn't really feel like they were in alignment with me, in alignment with the way that I wanted to run my business. But because of the fact that I thought that other people knew more than me, or other people's knowledge was stronger than my own intuition, I ended up making some shitty investments in Facebook ads at the same time. And so that's something that I'm definitely going to go forward with in year 2 to really understand the difference between an amazing Facebook ad ROI and something that just is not worth my time. There were quite a few strategies that I did where I literally just felt like I was throwing money down the toilet and it sucked. No one ever wants to feel that way, but at the same time, I just want to tell you guys this because we are all burned. We have all been burned. The life of an entrepreneur is making really, really good investments, but at the same time, unfortunately, making some investments where you're like, I probably wouldn't do that again. Which brings me to lesson number 5. And that is that nothing matters if it isn't aligned. And what I mean by this is if you're not going with your gut, if you're not going with your intuition, if it doesn't feel good to you, if it's something that you're doing just because someone else told you to do it, or just because your coach does really well with webinars, or your coach does really well with challenges, or your coach told you to do this specific type of ad, or they told you to do this specific type of message, and it doesn't feel good to you, just stop doing it. I'm giving you permission right now. Don't do it anymore. If you already know that you have specific activities in your business that are amazing for you, continue to do those things, but you don't need to be doing all of the things that you were ever taught in order to succeed. In fact, one of my previous business coaches, who I absolutely love, told me once that a part of her success for that year was ignoring 90% of what she had been taught and focusing on the 10% that felt really good to her and felt really aligned. And so I, of course, learned that years ago. But it wasn't until one specific launch that I had this year where I really, really realized just how true that was. And the thing is, you could literally take the exact same launch formula. You can literally take the exact same emails, everything from a 7-figure entrepreneur. They can give you all of their swipe file templates, everything that they've used, and they could have a 6-figure launch and you could make $0 off that exact same launch. And the reason why is because your energy is going to be different than that person's energy going into it. You might not be aligned with everything that that person has done in order to get to where they wanted to get to. And so listening to every single little thing and every single little suggestion from your coach or from the courses that you purchase or from the freebies that you download about how to navigate your business will only get you so far and will ultimately end up becoming self-sabotage if it's not aligned. And so I learned that this year the hard way. I learned that this year from many frustrations, from many tears, from many really, really uncomfortable things that I forced myself to do because I thought that they would make me successful. I want to say that again because I think it's so important. I did so many things that felt so uncomfortable for me, but not just uncomfortable as in like pushing me outside my comfort zone. I'm talking like things that I just kind of knew were really, really frustrating for me. And I did all of those things and I continued to do those things and I continued to invest money in things that just didn't really make any sense for me because I was afraid that if I hadn't done them, I wouldn't be successful. And literally the minute that I stopped doing that and the minute that I actually took all of the strategies, took all of the mindset work, and took all of the experience that I had and really started focusing on my gut intuition, that's when my launches started to work for me. that's when I started to get people really, really interested in my program. And that's ultimately where my business really soared from, having consistent 10K months to really hitting my first multiple 5-figure month as well. So nothing matters if it isn't aligned. Nothing matters if it isn't aligned, if you don't feel like that is the route that you want to take in your gut. And this is also why I am constantly telling my clients and asking my clients how this strategy feels to them. Are they excited about it? Are you excited about this new strategy that you learned? Or is it just really frustrating for you? Do you feel like there's just no point to it? Because if you always feel like it's really frustrating, there's no point to it, and you're going to do it anyways just because you feel like that's what you need to do to be successful, you're not going to be successful. And that's the really, really hard part. That's the tough pill to swallow. And that was a tough pill for me to swallow every time that I ran things that didn't go as I wanted them to. Even though I was doing all of the right things, I was checking off all of the right boxes. All right, and the very, very last lesson, so the sixth lesson from 6 lessons from making 6 figures in sales in my first year of business, is that self-belief needs to be number one. And so here's what I mean by that. When I was looking at creating my first $10,000 month, I needed to fully believe that it was possible. I needed to fully believe that I was capable of doing that. I needed to fully believe that the clients were out there for me, and that's exactly why it happened. When I launched my very first group program, I needed to fully believe that this group program was going to change women's lives. I needed to fully believe that there were women out there who really wanted this program. I needed to fully believe that what I was doing was working and that it was going to create an impact, and that's exactly why it did. When I launched my first mastermind, I needed to fully believe that this is something that these women really wanted and really needed. And I needed to fully believe that this is something that was of interest to them. And I needed to ultimately believe that it was possible and that I could reach that goal. And that's exactly why it happened. What we focus on expands. This is one of the biggest lessons and tips that I can give you is what we focus on expands. And so if we are focusing on working with dream clients, getting fully booked in your business, working with 10 women at a time in a group program, and doing this work that feels amazing, we're going to expand on that. We're going to create decisions based from that place. But if you don't believe it, if you're not focusing on that, if you're focusing on the negative, if you're focusing on the fear is always going to become your primary belief. You're not going to invest in that business coach that you really want to invest in because you have a fear of it not working out. You're not going to invest in that course. You're not going to send that email to that specific perfect fit client that you know would really benefit from your services because ultimately you are deciding to act from a place of fear. And so that's one of the biggest lessons that I can teach you that I have been taught this year is belief that you can do it is number one. I wouldn't have a 6-figure business in my first year in business if I didn't believe that it was possible for me. But when we really and truly believe in our capabilities and the creation of our own realities and our abilities to create dream businesses and really just dream lives, there's no cap on our potential. There's no cap on what we are capable of. And doing this work just feels amazing. And I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful to do it. Now, what's in store for next year? So we completed year 1 for Sara J. Loureiro, business coach and practical woo strategist. What's in store for year 2? What are all of the other things that I want to do? And so here's the thing. I love growing. I love growth. I love creating growth both for myself and for my clients and of course for my entire community. And so I want this business to grow. I want this business to grow in even bigger and better ways. And so be prepared to see a lot more professional looking services and copy and graphics coming your way. Keep an eye out for this business just completely exploding, where we continue to empower more and more women to play a bigger game, stand up against their fears, and really push towards getting what it is that they want out of their lives and out of their entrepreneurial journeys. I am dying to host retreats, go on retreats, host conferences, go on conferences, be a keynote speaker. The sky is the limit. I am wanting to expand this business to create more change than I ever thought possible. And I know that if I act from a place of belief, I can be standing in the exact same spot that I am today, just feeling incredibly inspired and incredibly grateful for all of the things that I was able to do in year 2. So tell me, how can you view your business in the same way? From all of these lessons that I have just shared with you, how can you navigate your business in a way that's going to always inevitably give you success? I'll let you think about that here. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarajloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.